The quiet before dawn in the hush before the first trumpet of dawn. Carrington's sandstone battlements glowed pale rose beneath twin moons. Deep within the keep, a young knight in training named Elijah sat awake beside a narrow arrow slit, watching torches smolder into coal-red embers along the outer wall. His heart thudded like a distant war drum, less from fear than from the sense that this new day might ask more of him than any other. The air smelled of damp hay, oiled leather, and the faint lilac that always drifted from the royal gardens. Somewhere beyond the stables, a lonely owl hooted its final note tonight, and Elijah quietly fastened the last buckle of his cuirass. The corridor outside his quarters echoed with bootsteps that hurried, hesitated, then continued. Barsh Alec, Elijah's lifelong friend, burst through the half-open door, hair in disarray, practiced sword clanging against his thigh. "You haven't slept either," Alec observed, trying for a grin that failed to mask his nerves. Elijah answered with the smallest shrug. They had dreamed of this morning since childhood, sparring with tree branches by the river while imagining themselves protectors of Carrington. Now the dream felt heavier, armored by expectation, sharpened by real steel, and gilded with the rumor that King Alden himself would oversee today's proving. Scene 2. Trial by steel. The proving yard buzzed like a disturbed beehive, as dozens of squires formed ranks beneath fluttering pennants. Mist curled across the flagstones, blurring colors into watercolor smears. Sir Garrett, the captain of the Royal Guard, paced before them, barking commands that cracked the mist. Elijah felt each order settle on his shoulders like an iron mantle. Draw, salute, advance. Opposite him, Alec winked, an unspoken promise that, no matter the outcome, they would navigate the future together. Wooden practice gates lifted, and the first combat trial began. Elijah's opponent was a broad-shouldered son of a baron, confident enough to yawn behind his shield. The clash that followed was swift and cacophonous, oak sword against steel edge, leather boots skidding on wet stone, a surprised grunt when Elijah feinted low and flicked the blade across the noble's greave. Cheers rose from the trainees. Garrick's expression remained stone, but he made a faint mark on a wax tablet. When the bell rang, Elijah's pulse still thundered, yet beneath the adrenaline he tasted something sweeter, proof that his countless dawn practices had meant something. A princess observes a ripple spread through the courtyard as Princess Lysandra crossed the terrace, accompanied by 2 maids and the royal healer. Her scarlet cloak cascaded like liquid flame, but her gaze was cool appraisal. Elijah bowed, as did the others, though Alec's bow bordered on theatrical. Lysandra's eyes lingered on Elijah a heartbeat longer than custom required, and he felt the touch of it like sunrise against skin chilled by night. She spoke softly to Garrick, then departed, leaving rumors swirling faster than the mist she parted. A king's request before midday meal could be served, Elijah and Alec were summoned to the Hall of Arches. The vaulted chamber held banners older than memory, and a stone table shaped like Carrington itself. King Alden waited alone, silver-haired but steady, his modest circlet gleaming no brighter than the humility in his posture. He studied the friends as though searching for cracks invisible to lesser eyes. "Carrington's peace stands on delicate threads," he began, voice carrying the fatigue of decades. "Threads that fray in the whispering woods." He spoke of strange lights, missing scouts, and rumors that the exiled necromancer Caelfersan had returned. Elijah's mouth went dry. Alden gestured toward 2 sigils carved into the table's edge, crossed blades for courage, an open hand for mercy. "Sir Garrick believes you embodied these today," the king said. "I need messengers who can wield swords yet speak with hearts unclouded. Ride at first light, confirm or dispel this darkness, and bring back hope." Elijah knelt, Alec beside him. Words of oath spilled from them. Service, honor, vigilance, binding them more tightly than forged rings. Farewells and promises the remainder of the day blurred. Armorers refitted chain, scribes delivered sealed letters, and Alec hustled between kitchens trading jokes for travel bread. Elijah sought a quieter moment, wandering to the rose garden where clouds stretched like gray lamb's wool above ramparts. There, Princess Lysandra awaited, gloved hands clasped behind her. "My father trusts you," she said without preamble. "That means Carrington does too. But trust can become a yoke. Don't let duty steal your spirit." Her vulnerability startled Elijah more than any sword blow. He promised clumsily that he would return. She reached to straighten the clasp of his cloak, an intimate gesture, witnessed only by the roses. Into the whispering woods dawn painted the sky cinnabar when the friends rode out through Falcon Gate. The city had barely woken, yet windowsill candles flickered, placed by townsfolk who believed flame could guide heroes home. Alec hummed a tavern tune to hide trepidation. Elijah breathed it in, letting the melody weave with hoofbeats. Ahead lay the whispering woods, a tangle of legends where reality bent beneath ancient spells. Beyond that, perhaps Kyle, perhaps war. They chose not to speak of it yet.
By midday they entered the forest's fringe, where every leaf seemed honed to a darker green. Wind slid through branches, whispering half-formed words, as though the grove itself gossiped. Elijah's horse snorted nervously. A deer darted across their path and vanished like smoke. The road narrowed, and the world's colors dimmed until torches were needed, though sunfall remained hours away. Here, stories told. Travelers sometimes forgot their own names.
Feather and fang, the first sign of trouble came with a feather, black as onyx, longer than Elijah's forearm, lying across the path. Alec stooped to lift it. It was unnaturally warm. A crack of splintering wood sent both men into defensive stances, but only a broken cartwheel rolled into view, spinning lazily. No voices, no bodies. Just that glistening feather and the metallic scent of magic spent. Shadows detached from tree trunks, bandits perhaps, wearing mismatched armor and red cords around their arms. Their leader's helm bore the sigil of a clenched fist, the mark of Queen Rhaena's disbanded private guard. Steel sang. The skirmish erupted chaotic. Elijah parried a wild axe, pivoted, and slammed pommel into an attacker's helmet. Alec ducked an arrow that thudded into bark inches from his ear. When the fight ended, 3 bandits fled, and 2 lay unconscious. The feather remained, but now it pulsed faint violet as though absorbing twilight. Echoes of Kyle Elijah bound one conscious captive and knelt. "Who commands you?" The man spat blood, muttering about Kael's legion and a promised rebirth of the Dark Banner. Alec exchanged a grim look with Elijah. Kael was no rumor. They dragged the prisoner to a creek shimmering with bioluminescent algae. Alec's attempts at humor failed. The woods swallowed laughter whole. Night in the whispering woods felt timeless. Campfire sparks rose until they became stars indistinguishable from the real ones. Elijah polished his blade, but thoughts wandered to Lysandra. Across the flames, Alec scribbled in a small leather journal, the same they'd passed between classes to plan imaginary quests. Now the ink recorded reality. "We're living tales we used to steal apples to hear," Alec whispered. Elijah managed a tired smile. Visions and runes sleep claimed them in uneasy waves. Elijah dreamed of the rose garden, but petals turned to black feathers that cluttered the ground until nothing red remained. He woke before dawn, chilled despite embers. The prisoner was gone, robe sliced clean by something hotter than any blade. Only ashes marked where he had sat. They tracked faint footprints glowing faintly, as though the ground remembered magic's touch. The trail cut west toward ruins of an old watchtower, once a beacon against invaders, now a husk wrapped in ivy. There, they found a circle of scorched earth, and the prisoner's helm fused to stone. In the circle's center, runes glowed the same violet as the feather, then faded. A warning? A beacon? Elijah felt an almost physical pull deeper into the forest. Against reason, they followed. Catacombs of the Serpent. The watchtower interior spiraled downward into catacombs unknown to cartographers. Walls shimmered with quartz veins that turned torchlight into shards of rainbows. Alec traced carvings depicting a 2-headed serpent crowned by stars. Old imperial sigil, he noted, long before Alden. At the lowest chamber, they found an altar of obsidian, upon which lay another feather, and a single Carrington rose, petals pristine despite the journey. Elijah's chest tightened. Lysandra must have passed here? Impossible. Yet the scent was hers. As Elijah lifted the rose, time fractured. He stood suddenly in the castle corridor, Lysandra walking toward him, but shadow hands pulled her through a mirror that appeared from nothing. He shouted. Sound died. The mirror shattered into feathers. Then he was back in the catacomb, Alec shaking him. Minutes had passed. Elijah's eyes shed tears of silver. The rose crumbled to dust. "No turning back, we're in over our heads," Alec said, voice thin. "We turn back, report, bring a legion." Elijah's answer surprised them both. No. If Kyle has the princess or her image, every moment counts. He gathered the violet feathers and tucked them into his satchel. We push on. Outside, dawn filtered weakly through canopy, but the sky toward Carrington was bruised purple, as if storm clouds bore bad omens homeward. Scene 12, bridge of shattered stone cliffhanger. They rode deeper, unaware that eyes watched from treetops, eyes set in a raven skull worn as a crown by a figure clad in ragged robes. The friends passed beyond a ridge, into mist lit from beneath by sickly green glow. A distant roar rumbled, half dragon, half hurricane. The road ended at a chasm where a stone bridge once stood, now shattered. Across the gulf rose some fortress nocturne, heart of Kyle's exiled domain. As Elijah stared, the ground trembled, Broken stones lifted into the air, rearranging themselves into a narrow path, as though inviting him. He exhaled, tasted sulfur on the wind, and spurred his horse forward.